one thing that you both have touched on, and it's inevitable given the theme of this conference and gathering and audience, is both the light and darkness of tech, the might and power, but also the potential for misuse. And I know we have a number of people here today and likely live streaming who are in these kind of cutting edge industries of virtual reality, or crypto, those crazy people, or AI. And there are more and more seemingly healing opportunities being offered with these technologies, while also other just pure addictive entertainment ones. What's your counsel to us as co-creators of this next generation of tech? A lot of us are calling it Web 3. What's your counsel to us on not straying into the dark side? How do we make sure that this is used for good? And where do you see the real potential within these spaces? Is it the big, huge tech companies, or is it fringe, or micro communities?
It's a huge, huge potential problem. I think it's one of the more sort of scarier problems that we have that is not talked about enough. I am a huge fan of Yuval Noah Harari. I love him so much. I think he's sort of like the Einstein of the social sciences. He's also a meditator in the same Vipassana tradition that I'm a part of. But he sort of is crusading around the world, constantly talking about the dangers of hacking the human mind, and how easily through algorithms, through being able to take different like temperature readings, just all the data that we can gather from the human mind, how if that's placed in the wrong hands, in the hands of the wrong company, or in the hands of a dictator or some type of authoritarian regime, that you could potentially control human minds. And the awareness that he's building around that sort of super dark side of tech, I think it's just so critical so that we can learn essentially how to treat the mind gently. I think this is something that we, as the current generation that's alive here now, is that we need to make this a goal, is how can we treat the mind gently and support its freedom of perspective, so that we don't have algorithms basically tricking us into thinking that we're free and making decisions for ourselves, when in reality, it's just that the algorithm told you this same thing so many times, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, right, I think I like that, but no, you don't. Like you just saw that many, many times. So I think it's critically important, but to me, the same way that we as meditators should be walking through the earth very gently and trying to add harmony to any interaction that we're a part of, we need to bring that same type of energy into any products that we're creating, into the social circles that we're a part of, and in any companies that we're forming, because it could be a giant game changer. But the hacking of the human mind, I'm grateful that Yuval is doing that deep work to just let everyone know that this is starting to happen, and it could become much worse, and that we need to, literally do something big about this on the global scale, so that we don't end up accidentally enslaving ourselves.
So we have these huge forces that you're talking about, Diego, and they're also on different sides. There's AI. Will it be used for the good? Will it be misused? And AI is learning so fast, it's like a 2 or 3 year old now. In another couple of hours, it'll be going to college. I have to tell you, it's really extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then we have CRISPR and gene editing, where we can edit who people are. And that's going to be happening in nanosecond as well. We have fusion technology, which maybe in the next decade will supplant oil and solar and all of that. Quite possible. So there's all these beneficial things, but also the danger that you speak about, and the problems, climate, racism, divisiveness. How will we use them? I was invited to the first White House Buddhist leadership gathering on a president prior to the last one, just so you catch where it might have been, and was able to give the kind of one of the summary talks. And I read a text that goes way back to Buddhist teachings about wise society, that for a society to prosper and not decline, for people to live well, there were 4 principles. The first is that people come together in harmony and listen respectfully to each other and depart in harmony. First principle, that we actually listen. The second is that we care for the vulnerable among us, those who have power, take care of the whole in some way. A third principle was that we care for the environment. Pretty early on, these environmentalists and so forth. So I read these, but they're not different than what you'd see from the Iroquois nation and the indigenous wisdom, or from the Tao, or from, other great wisdom traditions. I said the beautiful thing is, and the important one is, that it's not just ideals, because we all love these ideas. There are practices that train the heart to do this. There are ways, starting in education, social and emotional learning, that's growing out of mindfulness and compassion, or institutions that we create, where you can actually train human beings to see with the heart of compassion, to respect oneself and another. These are, now neuroscience says it doesn't take that much, and we can build these in so that instead of the forces leading us to automatons and consumers, there's this other possibility, and we have it within us. Yeah. We have the inner technology that will allow us to do this, that in many ways is a match for the outer technology, and we somehow have to bring that forward. And then the last thing is, one of the people I know who's at the forefront of the AI development said, when is it going to be conscious, right? And when is it going to supplant human intelligence? And what about the competition between the US and China in developing, and all of these kind of things? And I said, can you build in values along with information? Can you make the principles on which it's created, can you make a bodhisattva AI, whose first principle is not only do no harm, but bring benefit to living beings? Can you install that in there? And maybe the last, because that's what we need to do. We really need to think about what are the principles of our technology that we're building. And then the last thing is, this is not going to happen in the big companies, because I've worked in them a little bit too, whether it's Apple or Google or Microsoft or, Facebook or whatever. It happens at the margins. That's actually where creativity grows. It's from young people, it's from BIPOC people, or it's from, the margins, revolutionaries and musicians and, hackers in their basements and so forth, visionaries in that way. That's really where the answers are going to start to come if we're willing to support and listen in that way. That the changes, they want to come from the human heart. We have to quiet ourselves and listen, ask the real questions. What are the principles underlying our technology that we build in? And then invite the ones who aren't in the conversation, to be part of it.
Amazing. Thank you.